What are the most unbreakable records in sports, whether it's a team or individual?
That's a good question, and we can argue these points forever. But the record that I see never to be broken is Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. I don't think we'll ever see a player ever do that, especially the way the game is and power pitching that we see and really the transition. Not a lot of players play 56 straight games.
Right.
So, I mean, when you look at Joe DiMaggio and what he did and how he did it, I don't think you'll ever see something like that. And Joe DiMaggio is one of the greatest underrated, and I'm going to say he's underrated, even though he's one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
Right.
Because when you talk about the greatest baseball players of all time, top 5, you wouldn't even put Joe DiMaggio. A lot of people don't even, they put Ted Williams over Joe DiMaggio.
Right, even with the Yankees, it's Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, guys that I thought of first before DiMaggio. And DiMaggio's really only mentioned with the hit streak.
It's incredible. And Joe DiMaggio barely ever struck out. This guy never struck out. I think the most he's ever struck out in a season was 97 times.
Wow.
So this guy doesn't strike. He never struck out a lot. And you look at guys like Mike Trout, who Joe DiMaggio wasn't a power hitter, but the way he hits the ball and he puts the ball in all different positions on the field, that's Joe DiMaggio like. Wow. I mean, when people try to compare his game to Mickey Mantle was a power hitter. You know what I mean? Joe DiMaggio hit for contact. That's what he did, and he was a power hitter. So I think there's more comparison to than Mickey Mantle than there are. There's more comparison to Joe DiMaggio than it is Mickey Mantle, just because of the style of game and the way they swing.
Mm-hmm. I looked it up. It's actually even more insane than that. The highest amount of strikeouts he ever had in a season was 39.
It's incredible.
That is insane. Even for that era, which you're right, they didn't really hit as much for power then.
I didn't even know that.
So
there you go.
39
I thought it was
in a
90
year,
something.
39 in a year is insane, and that's your highest year. I mean, that's probably a lot of people never achieve that kind of thing. And I agree with you. The other thing that I think you have to factor in too with this not coming about again is the media. I think the media, if anyone gets to 40, if anyone gets to 41, it's just going to they're going to hype it up and add extra pressure on the player too, which I think will make it harder for anyone that gets close. And that's why nowadays you really only see, I think, hitting streaks that are in the 20s really beyond that.
Speedy, what about you?
I'm going to go with Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points. I think Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points is something I don't think you'll ever see again for the sole purpose of players love to load manage now. That's what they do. If a team is dominating in a game, and even if the guy has 60-something points, I mean, they're going to pull him if they're up by a lot. I mean, you really need the perfect circumstances nowadays. Maybe if it's an overtime game, maybe if it's a triple overtime game or something like that. I think is the only way you could ever see that kind of thing happen because of low management. Coaches are trying to do that now, and even players. They sit out games. They have minutes limits in games now, where I don't think you'll ever see that happening, even though it is an offensive league and a three-point shooting league.
Russell Westbrook, his triple-double. And Russell Westbrook did it in how many games? I think he did it a triple-double in, I think, 39 or 41 of the games, triple-doubles. Mm-hmm. I don't think you'll ever see a player do it as much as Russell Westbrook did in one season. It's incredible what Russell... People don't realize how hard it is to get a triple-double in the NBA, how athletic the sport is, how it's transitioned, how the game is transitioned. Yes, it's transitioned into an offensive game, but... Does anybody realize how hard it is to get a triple double? You're averaging 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and over 10 to 20 points a game. Mm-hmm. A game.
And you're dealing with a point guard here. It's not like you're dealing with a big man who could get rebounds all the time.
I don't understand how everybody thinks Steph Curry is the greatest point guard in our era when Russell Westbrook has been all in all better than Steph Curry. Now, Steph Curry won more championships. He won 2 MVPs to Russell Westbrook's 1. But all in all, I don't believe Steph Curry won the second. He shouldn't have won the second MVP. That was LeBron James's. Mm-hmm. But they gave it to Steph because Steph is a popular player. But Russell Westbrook has been a better player. He's been a better point guard in this league. And he's actually, I think he's a little bit younger than Steph Curry too. So Russell Westbrook, the triple-double in his first, not his second year, his first year doing that, the triple-double. Right. So It's an incredible feat for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, and I think the other, for a point guard to do it especially, is really insane. Yeah, Steph Curry may be the most accomplished point guard, but Russell Westbrook.
Why? Because he won championships.
Yeah, that's what people.
He also
will
played
argue.
He also played with Kevin Durant. He also played. And you're going to say Russell Westbrook played with Kevin Durant too? But here's the thing: Russell Westbrook played with Kevin Durant, with just Kevin Durant, and he did well. A couple of years he played with Harden.
Right,
but
he
that
played
was
with
when
Harden.
Harden was a rookie. When
Right,
he was in the beginning of his career.
Even that team that made it to the finals, it was Russell Westbrook was not the dominant player he was now. Kevin Durant, it was his team, and he was kind of the second guy. And for some games, he was the third guy. Because let's not forget about Serge Ibaka too, and he was one of the better power forwards in the league.
Yep. And they should have moved on from him and kept Harden. Mm-hmm. That was their big mistake.
Yes.
And I'm sure, years and years go by with all the players. Those players, none of them are on the team anymore. You talk about Russell Westbrook, he's with the Rockets. Harden is with the Rockets. Kevin Durant is now with the Nets and won a couple of championships with the Golden State Warriors. And Ibaka went to Toronto and actually went. Who did he
went
go
to
for?
Orlando first,
Orlando
and then
first,
Toronto.
and Toronto, and won a championship with Toronto. So figure that one out. Every single one of those players except Harden and Westbrook have won championships.
Well, they're gonna have to prove themselves together now.
It's crazy. Look at it. Who's your other one?
All right, so I'm going to go to hockey now. I think it's pretty much every single season goal record. I'm not even talking about number one. Wayne Gretzky has the most with 92 goals of the season, but even looking at maybe the top 15 or so, how often are you going to see a guy get to 70 goals now in today's NHL? You don't see it very often with, again, the depth of the players now. A lot of coaches
It was easier than that time to score goals.
But even, again, in a more offensive league, it's still harder just because of the way that their minutes are spread out. A lot of coaches try to balance their lines now, and you're not going to get as many touches as you do now. And a lot of even the top players in the league now are not that these guys weren't playmakers back then, too, because a lot of them were, too. Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Brett Hull on this list that are on the top goal totals. They were playmakers too, but a lot of them maybe are playmakers first nowadays too, where getting 50 goals now is something that's hard to do just because of that, the way the system is and the way the analytics have changed the game too, and just the coaches, I think.
Lamar Jackson, what he did his second year winning the MVP and the way he did it as a running quarterback. Now, positive when you look at his throwing percentage and what he has done, his quarterback rating is remarkable going into his second year where everybody said he couldn't throw the ball. But the way he ran the ball, I think he ran for 1,300 yards his first season. I mean, his second season as an NFL player and MVP, I don't think you'll ever see a quarterback run the ball as much as Lamar Jackson did his second year to win an MVP. So
right, and again, rushing yards, 1,000 yards is the pinnacle for running backs, and a quarterback in Lamar Jackson did it 1,206 yards and 7 touchdowns. Most running backs don't even get to that in a season, and he did it on 176 attempts, so he didn't even have 200 attempts, 7 yards a carry. And again, how often do quarterbacks run that often either, where you're going to get that kind of feat per average? So I agree with you on that one. I think you're going to definitely see that be unbroken for a very long time, and he may even break it himself. Maybe he has the best chance of breaking it, if anything. So I'll do one more because we got to go to break soon for Mark. I'll do the rushing record, the NFL rushing record. Eric Dickerson, 2,197
that
yards.
will be broken.
You think it will?
Absolutely.
See, I can't see it. Adrian Peterson was close, and he was 8 yards short in his year. I think that was the best chance. They're just not feature backs anymore. You really think that with the game rotating, where there's a lot of running back platoons, and
I told you it's going to become a running back team. A running back game again.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a running back game again. I do. I think eventually it will transition back to the running back spot. I just think running backs are underpaid. I think they should be overpaid for the amount of beatings they get at the line of scrimmage.
And like I said, I agree with you in that element. I think what it's going to become more is more of a running game with many different options, though. I don't know about the feature running back being a thing. Again, it might be a one-season phase, but again, you need the perfect scenario to work out, the perfect team to work out at the same time, too. And a lot of the top running backs in the league are on teams that are kind of average, which, again, if you're losing, you're not going to run as much kind of thing. And again, a lot of even those running backs are on teams that are rebuilding. Guys like Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey, both kind of on rebuilding teams now. So again, who's going to be able to do it? You need the right situation. Maybe Derrick Henry, that probably could be the chance if anyone does it.
No.
You don't think so?
Nah. Derrick Henry has a great second half. Every single year, he starts off really bad, and then all of a sudden, after the 6th or 7th game, do not draft him in fantasy. He'll kill you in the first 6 or 7 weeks, and then he'll completely destroy. If you have a bunch of good running backs and you keep Derrick Henry on your bench, then you bring him in, in the 6th or 7th game of the season, then you have something. But Derrick Henry, he does nothing in the first 5 weeks and then completely dominates after that. So,
okay, that's fair. I also think, though, you just need the guy that's going to get the touches in order to do that, because you're talking about 2,000 yards. A lot of the leading rushers now in the last probably 5 years, they're in the 1,600 to 1,700 yard range, and none of them have really come even close to that hot stretch that Eric Dickerson had when he did it in the 80s, and then Adrian Peterson when he did it in 2012, which is just insane off all the injuries he had, just falling 8 yards short, but still really doing that. I don't know if you'll ever see something like that again.